Hello everyone, legofanatikeren here. I'm not dead. I've just been busy with other stuff since basically summer, and that's not going to change for the next few months. So I wanted to push this out just to do something and show that I'm not dead. Obviously, the Discord community knows that I'm sort of not dead, but it never hurts to prove it. So what I'm doing here is a little 2 hour project done in one go, basically, and I wanted to tackle Diflux Gallifreyan for this particular one. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the primary reasons is the features it has. For this particular text, I need something that differentiates very clearly between lower and uppercase letters, and already that basically boils down to either Diflux or boredom, without going into some really obscure hacks in certain other scripts. So it was between those two, and for longer pieces of text, boredom is just really repetitive, not to say outright boring, and it really didn't have the flair that I really wanted for this. I want something that is mysterious enough that a casual viewer is going to be tricked by it, to put it bluntly. And Diflux is good for that because most people look at that and assume it's Sherman's. And there will be a couple of features and a couple of immediate red flags in a script like this where you go, that's not possible, Sherman's. This is not a letter. That's not anything. And that would be the biggest clue probably that this is not in fact regular Sherman's, but it is something else. So I chose Diflux for the upper and lower case and for the dramatics, the details, the flair. You can do a lot with this aesthetically speaking. And I also really wanted to um, practice this a little bit more because it's been ages since I did Diflux, and in the meantime, there's been all sorts of updates. The final version came out about a half a year ago, and I've not used it for anything in that time since. But I did have some old guides and some old guide material and some preparation work done on it that I could just brush off, dust off, and sort of get myself up to speed again. And at least I hope I've done so to the degree that none of this is going to be wrong. At least I've not intentionally made any errors. I did. No, wait, I fixed that. So there should be no errors. This should be totally up to code in terms of the current version of the script and the rules and stipulations that it has. This should be totally up to spec, which is also why I'm really happy with it because I tried out 4 distinct different sets of techniques with this. For instance, what you're seeing on the second tile there was a stacked letter or a chained letter, which is a new thing I'm trying out here. It's hard for me to point things out as they happen on screen because Diflux is very ornate and there's a lot of interchangeable parts that I can't really point at something on the screen right now and go, oh, look at that shape. That shape means this or that. Um, because you're not going to know, you're not going to have the faintest idea of what I'm talking about because of the partly because of the script itself, but also partially because of the way I decided to make this super compact. The idea here was to have 4 tiles with a text on it, and because they are tiles, they are square in this case, and I wanted to use that space as much as possible. So that means I am a little bit tightly packed here. Diflux is very open to the idea of having more linear paths to follow. Think Rasalonian or Clockwork in the approach of how tightly packed you should pack your stuff. There should be a clear path to follow, or at least there should be a hierarchy to follow. And I am trying to do a little bit of both here, but it still works out. It's just maybe a little bit more tightly packed than your average piece probably should be, maybe. At least if you were to use the more intricate hierarchy functions and stacked, like in terms of how do I put this? You can do sort of the same set of rules you can do in CC, in that you can mishmash your letters and words together in one big pile, and then let the borders differentiate between what is what, and where one word stops and the next begins. You can do that, and if you do that, then this configuration is really, really not well suited for it, because it's going to be so packed that you're not going to probably be able to get that space anyway. So I'm not really sure where I went with this. I think I just went on a tangent here. Sorry. On the right, you can see the reference guide I have for this, and I hesitate to call it a quick guide because there's nothing really quick about it, but it contains most of what I needed today. And I just read up on the official guide, so I have most of the stuff that isn't shown there is in the back of my mind, just vaguely set there. And then I came to a section that needed some extra help, and I was like, I've read about this today somewhere. Let me go and check. So in between takes here, I am scrolling down the guide, looking at the reference material, seeing some of the examples, reading through the details again to make sure that what I'm doing here is actually possible. I also, totally shamelessly admitting that here, I also took advantage of the fact that the creator is still on our community, so I went and asked him, hey, does this work? Can I do this? What does this mean? Because the way the Diflux guide got published finally after some 3 years of development was the creator decided to cut down on the amount of examples for the sake of getting on with it, because he got really bogged down by that. Which means the guide is very nice, but it also lacks a lot of visual material in terms of, okay, there's a description here of what this symbol should do, but there's no examples of using it. So you have to sort of imagine how that might look or how that might work. And in a few cases, I had to ask outright, what does this mean? How do you use this? But I got there, and I'm not using all the techniques and questions I asked in this project. I just like to know for future reference, and so I don't actually accidentally do something that would need to be retconned later when that turns out to be a different symbol or something like that. So that's the big trouble, or the big scare I have with Diflux is at any point something could come out to invalidate whatever we've done already, because it is so intricate. There are so many levels of extra systems, extra symbols, extra functionality you can add to Diflux, because it is so diverse and it has so many paths it can take. It can go Japanese, it can go IPA, you can use it for this or that, or you can do a lot of things, and you can do a lot of things in certain ways. And this means that the barrier between different characters is a lot thinner than for most other systems. The only thing I can think of here is TARDIS console, which also has a huge collection of distinct characters, and it's for that reason it's very easy to accidentally make a different character than you intended. And it's the same here, except it's not just characters that might become a different character. The whole way this thing is structured and read and deciphered can be impacted by just one stupid little line not going in the right place, or this symbol sitting in the wrong context of another symbol, and suddenly you have a whole mess. So you have to tread very lightly, or at least know enough about the symbols you're not using to know that you're not accidentally making them, if that makes sense. And I know I'm talking a lot about the script itself and not what you're seeing in front of your eyes, but I just really need to convey this information to you, because there's just, I won't say it's a high barrier to entry, but this script is very limited in what it can do if you don't know all the extra rules. So you're sort of forced to learn about this other side of it, the more advanced side, just to make your basic stuff. Because even if you're not using that stuff, you need to know the rules are there, so you don't accidentally mess with those rules. You need to know what you don't know, so you don't accidentally do it, even if you're not intending on using it for that, if that made any sort of sense. But at long last, I got the thing done. We are about an hour and a half in, I think, at this point. And what we're doing is we are finalizing most of the things. I found a workflow here where I just put in the raw shapes, and then I do dots, rings, lines, punctuation, and case marks afterwards. So that's what you're seeing me do most of the time here now. I'm adding in the specific characters that need to be uppercase. I am adding in the punctuation so that the flow of the text is exactly the way I need it. And I suppose at this point I should talk just a little bit, about what it is you're actually seeing, because those pieces of text are a part of a riddle. I didn't come up with this. I saw it many years ago, and I liked it a lot, so I wrote it down. And now I wanted to remake it, I suppose, here in Gallifreyan, and probably see if anyone likes to take a stab at it. It's a riddle in 4 parts. You have 4 tiles. One of them is quote unquote the right tile, and all 4 tiles contain information that can sort of lead you to determine which one is the right tile. And this is what I came up with. Well, came up with is a strong word, but this is what I ended up doing. 4 tiles. We finalized the words now. While I've been babbling here, I have done the background. I went for some darker, shiny bronze, brass, something like that. And now we're just making sure you can still read the words, using some simple shadow work. I wasn't too inspired to do the color here. It was just slap something on and say that's it. I was more interested in the Diflux creation itself and the way the things fit together. And I wanted to get a little bit of a better, say, aspect on this. Didn't want it to be so long, so I decided to clump them together in 2 and 2, and this made it a lot more nicely square. And adding some decoration to the background at the last second, just because I thought, why not? More of the same basic, what's the word? That word is completely gone right now. The transition from one color to another. I don't remember the word right now. But anyway, more of that, and we're basically done. Nicely shiny bronze tablets or tiles with some mysterious text on it. And that was a little bit of Diflux. So I will see you another time. Maybe, probably, hopefully before the end of the year. But otherwise, this was it. Have a nice day. Goodbye.